Bellator happened earlier this week, so
Yeah, there's a big lag, but there's 3 boxing events on, and the Joshua fight is now. And damn it, it's not, my thing's not working, so it's all right. Well, I'll turn it on when the time comes. I don't think it's going to be a knockout. Joshua is not the most exciting of fighters usually. But he's big and talented. But if he gets you, he'll put you to sleep. But I haven't seen that much from him recently. How are you doing?
Go. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, go ahead and fire away. What were you saying?
You think it's more his athleticism as a boxer that carries him, or do you think it's that's how I look at him? I think he's just a very athletic individual, and that's brought him.
Yeah,
he's a good boxer.
He's physically everything you would want. He's big. He's the perfect weight. He's the perfect length. He's got the arms. He's got everything. He's just not a killer. He's not he doesn't seem to have that inner desire to destroy people. Maybe he's just too nice, but he's a good. People shit on him a lot. He's a tough out, man. Just because Usyk outboxes you doesn't mean that you're washed up goods.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, it's one of the greatest heavyweight one of the greatest footwork specialists at heavyweight ever with Usyk. Even though he's only had a few fights, he's fast as fuck and great footwork and lefty and tricky. And you can't be like, oh, this guy sucks. He lost to one of the best ever twice in a row. What a loser. Boxing fans are like that. They put you out to pasture pretty damn quickly. Like even MMA fans are too. They're probably thinking Valentina, is washed out to pasture now after losing once, when she was winning the fight up till the point that she tried that spinning back fist and everything fell apart from there. But I'm sure she'll be back too. But
oh yeah,
fight fans are very, very fickle. They get a little carried away.
Yeah, I feel more so in the boxing realm too. We were talking about it before with Jimmy, and we were talking about how the zero as a fighter, if you don't got that, you're written off. Like, they write you off. You're not good, and it's like, are you kidding me? Like, I understand that there's a lot of promotions that'll like build a boxer like his first 20, 30 fights as a pro. They'll like just send him whoever. Like, you'll have crazy matchups with like guys that are just, it's a mismatch. But
yeah,
I mean, dudes are just written off. They have that loss.
It's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous because you have people like Crawford, who's now 35 years old, and he's in that late stage, and he really hasn't had that marquee big name fight yet. And instead of fighting Spence, he's taking easy fights for, quote, the bag, his words, not mine.
Right.
And hey, listen, I'm not him. I mean, if there's easy money and you can get that O and you walk away from your career undefeated, that's got to feel really fucking good versus at this stage going, I could make a little bit more, but what if I lose? Where's my legacy? I mean, I'm not in that position. So it's easy for me as a fan to say, take the tough fight. And if you win, you become a bigger hero and make a little bit more money. I'm sure the business side of it's a very different argument.
Right. I agree with that. Because, I mean, you can look at guys like Garcia and Gervonta are going to fight soon. And it's like, Ryan's got so much money he's made. I mean, Ryan Garcia could probably retire now, and he's what, 23, 24, and
yeah,
he don't need to fight Triple G. It's he doesn't need to take that fight. That I think that's a risky fight for him, but he's doing it, and that you can have like, oh, it's a legacy fight almost, because like I said, he's got all the money he could ever want. Like, this is going to be the fight that, like, if he wins, that's what he's going to be remembered by. It's like, yeah, we'll remember Garcia beat him up, and it's, I mean, boxing's interesting, very interesting.
Whoever wins that fight, Garcia or Davis, is the biggest superstar in boxing right now.
Yeah.
Because Fury was the biggest superstar, but now people are pissed off at him because of the Usyk fight.
Yep.
The negotiations falling through and the ridiculous demands. It makes it look like Fury is contractually ducking Usyk. And now he's going to be at the Joshua fight, which sort of sets the stage. If Joshua wins, then you get a kind of who gives a fuck fight of Usyk Joshua. And I'm sorry, you get a Fury Joshua fight. And I say who gives a fuck? It'd be a huge fight in the UK, and certainly a fight people would watch. But Usyk just beat this guy twice in a row. And that's the championship fight. That's the fight the fans want to see. So, him being there and rooting for Joshua to win so that he can have a fight that just sets the stage for the guy who Usyk beat fighting Fury instead of Fury fighting Usyk just pisses people off on a lot of levels. So whoever wins that Garcia Davis fight, especially if it's Ryan, becomes the biggest star in the sport, because Ryan's the under in that. And he's got all the looks and the personality and the social media. If he wins that,
everything you'd want to promote the sport.
Yeah, he's like a young Oscar De La Hoya with a quicker left hook. It's crazy. Yep. And a little bit less dog that we've seen. Oscar was but the fact that he's jumping into this fight shows that he has that heart too. He's doing the De La Hoya. He's saying, fuck it, let's go. You got to love that.
Yeah, you do, because like I said, he doesn't have to fight him, does not have to fight him, and he is.
And he's doing it. I like the way he approached it. He goes, look, enough. Everybody in the sport's ducking everybody. We got to put together some real fights for the fans. Let's do this. Let's actually do it. And he put his own O on the line and put his own nuts on the line and did it said this is for the sport. And obviously he's going to make money on it, but it's still nice that he would say that in a way that the fans can relate to, because fans have been screaming for this to happen for years. That's the beauty about the UFC. You don't ever have the situation like this. Occasionally you might have they're putting in Colby instead of putting in, so-and-so, and you can debate, but you never have a holy shit, they're ducking, he's ducking this guy for an extended period of time, because at some point, if the fans want it, Dana makes it happen, period.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of people realize how matchmaking in boxing works. Like in UFC, it's all under Hunter Campbell, Dana, Sean Shelby, those three guys in the UFC are putting UFC roster fighters against each other. And I don't think people realize you got Top Rank, and then you got other guys from other boxing promotions, and them just trying to create deals, and that's why shit never really works. That's why Pacquiao and Mayweather never fought till it was I wouldn't say it was too late. I I think Floyd, even though he's taken a lot of these what are they? Not smoker fights. He's taken a lot of these 8-round fights for money at this point in his career and just to keep himself busy, I think. But I don't think Floyd was out of his game when he fought Pacquiao. I think Floyd was still the guy was just good forever. Not forever. But look at him, he's almost 50 now and he's still out there going to work. And when he fought Pacquiao, everyone says he's running from Pacquiao. No, he did his thing. I feel like a lot of non-fighting fans watching that fight would think Floyd was backpedaling the whole fight. But if you've ever watched Floyd, that's he just sits on the outside. He's gonna move. He's gonna slip. He's gonna hit you. He's gonna do that Philly shell. He's gonna have that lead jab hand down. He's gonna roll your shots. He's gonna make you pay on it. I think that fight happened at a good time. Maybe not as much for Pacquiao, but you don't see a lot of fights happen too often, just because these promotions in boxing don't find whatever means. And it's lucrative money, it really is. But what would you were talking about with Fury and Usyk? Shit, this fight might not happen for another year, 2 years, 3 years. Who knows?
If ever. If ever.
If ever. It's not like these guys are all. It's not like there's a Showtime is the leading boxing promotion where everyone goes and or HBO, but whatever it is. It's not like all these guys are contractually under that. No, they all are under their own boxing promoters, and they all are under like individual contracts. And I mean, it's like something to me would want to see MMA get like that, because then you got things where like you could see like Michael Venom Page fight Leon Edwards. You could see stuff like that.
Mighty Mouse doing a crossover fight.
Coming back and fighting Brandon Moreno or something like that. We'd see shit like that, but I don't think it'll ever happen. I think UFC's got too strong of a hold to ever let this rubric break apart that they've built in MMA. I mean, back then it used to be like that, where you'd have Liddell go fight in Pride, and then he'd come back and fight in America and UFC, and then you'd have freaking dudes like Arlovsky go fight on Affliction, and then he'd come back and fight in the UFC again. And it's like, that's kind of how it is.
You'd see Krokoff all of a sudden popping into the UFC out of the blue after dominating, for years, knocking people into another dimension. It doesn't seem to happen as much. I do think that UFC is starting to, keep their eye on some of the stuff that's happening, on the Bellator side a little bit more. But I still don't know why a guy like Mighty Mouse didn't fight his entire career at the UFC. You can make a case that he's the greatest of all time, at all weight classes, with everyone saying John Jones is the GOAT. You never had concerns of Mighty Mouse's with drug abuse. He's just at a weight that nobody gives a shit about. 120, 125 or something like that, the super flyweight division. No, I don't know. For some reason, 135 is like hugely popular, and 125 people are like, who gives a shit? I don't understand that, but that's the way it is. That's just the way it is.
I feel like throughout time, we've like crept our way down the weight classes to what's the most exciting weight class. Because I remember growing up, it was 205 light heavyweight, because you had like Rashad Evans and Liddell and Shogun and Machida, and then it crept into middleweight, and then it crept into welterweight, and then it crept into lightweight, and then I feel like we're still borderline lightweight, and then bantamweight and featherweight are just crazy right now. The 35-45 divisions, it's like there's so many moving pieces, anything can happen. But
stacked in those divisions, and welterweight's pretty crazy too.
Welterweight is too.
Yeah, but those 135 to 145 in the UFC right now is just fucking stacked with killers, and it's fun to watch. I mean, it's who the hell knows what's going to shake out at 185 too. I mean, we have a big, rematch coming up, and I think we're going to see Izzy wrestling a lot in this. If you watch the film on the last one, he'll know, holy shit, I'm not a really great wrestler, but I was whipping his ass wrestling him. And why would I sit here in the striking range of these big tree trunks with this giant? He looks like an Incan warrior. Like, he looks like something straight out of the movie 300, but if it were done in South America. He just looks like that guy. He looks like a fucking monster.
Literally.
Don't stand in front of that big old monster. Get down there, wrestle him, and we do it the old-fashioned way. Beat him up slow and keep him off the feet.
He's just got what I talk about this all the time is a lot of guys, especially in 5-round fights, their knockout power is going to probably fade, especially like that fight, for example. It was just so back and forth between the wrestling, the stand-up. He got rocked once, even in the first. And I mean,
he almost took Pereira out at the end of the first. He had him.
Yeah.
I mean, he had 10 more seconds. That fight could have been ended right there.
Oh, yeah. And then for him to come back and rock Izzy in the 5th round with it wasn't even like a big left hook counter. He just whipped it out there and tagged. And then he started pouring it on. And it's like, I don't think people realize to do that after 23 minutes of fighting, to go out there and just crack a guy once, and after how the whole flow of that fight was going, it was pretty high pace. I mean, from the grappling exchanges and everything, it's unbelievable. That guy has a freaking something else in those hands.
That's the part that was crazy for me, because you would think a guy who naturally walks around at 230 that cuts down to 185 would not have that gas tank in the 5th round. And yet, granted, Izzy couldn't really move. He had his leg fucked up from round 1, and that the nerves were firing, and he just didn't have, he had numbness in his leg. His leg was pretty fucked up. So that's why he wasn't on his horse and getting the hell out of there. He couldn't. And that definitely can happen. But the fact that Pereira had that heat and had that tank in the 5th round with everything that had happened, and especially after that weight cut, it showed me that this he's on another level athletically. He's, arguably one of the greatest combat sports people in history as well, because his career as a kickboxer, a lot of people don't follow kickboxing, but his career as a kickboxer is fucking legendary. Like, he's up with one of the greats in history as a kickboxer, and now he's the UFC welterweight champion of the world. That's unbelievable. Like, that's incredible. So who knows, man? I mean, it's going to be a fun fight. I mean, it's going to be a real fun fight. And that's, what do you think is going to happen in that one? You think Izzy's going to fight discipline and eke it out, or what's your thought?
I think we're going to see a lot of the Izzy that fought Yoel Romero. He's going to sit back in his range, and he's just going to prod at him. But it's going to be harder because Alex really isn't like a counter-strike type of guy. He's more of like it's real interesting how he like marches forward. He's step in off one side, he'll circle back and come back forward and start throwing. It's like, I think Izzy's going to try to fight like that. Until he can bait Alex into coming forward to where he can initiate some wrestling and some takedowns. I think Izzy will win, but I'm just as confident that Alex, if he touches him again, he'll put him away for the 4th time, which is just wild to me.
Yeah, right. It's fucking wild.
But looking at it through Izzy's fight style perspective, I think that's what he does. I think he'll really sit on the outside. He'll keep him at the end of his punches, keep him at the end of his kicks, and try to get Alex marching forward, and then look to get inside and just meet him in the middle and wrap him up. Other than that, I do not see Izzy winning any other way if they stand and bang again, just because I think Alex in his head knows that mental part's going to be playing big. Alex in his head, this guy knows I'm knocked out 3 times. I know I'm knocked him out 3 times. I'm going to walk forward and I'm going to hit him, put him away.
Yeah. There's absolutely something to be said about that. There's even psychological tests that show that that's a real thing with mice which are genetically very much like humans. Have you heard about this study? Did I ever tell you this?
No.
So with mice, they'll put them in a tube, one mouse on one side, one on the other. And whichever mouse wins the first battle will win all of the rest of them from that point forward, unless the researcher takes the losing mouse and puts like a stopper at the end that forces the losing mouse forward where they can't escape. And then once the losing mouse beats the winning mouse, now the losing mouse will win from that point forward. The winning mouse then becomes the losing mouse because the mental loss is all it took. All it took was that mental loss, and then it became a mental thing. So it's a study that's been repeated over and over again, that winning really is contagious and losing really is contagious. It's mental, and it's pretty interesting how that works. But yeah, that's a big advantage. When you've knocked somebody out 3 times, I mean, Izzy can take a lot of pride in the fact that he was winning the fight and couldn't move, but at the end of the day, he knows he just. The other thing he can take some pride in is that he really didn't go lights out. The ref stopped him before he got sent into orbit, which is good. And you could make a case that that's why Usman lost. I mean, he became the losing mouse and fought a really stupid fight, a poorly planned fight. But he's the losing mouse, and now he's going to keep losing to Edwards or whoever. Oh, maybe not everybody else, but certainly to Edwards. So Leon now has his number after getting his ass whipped and then just sending him into orbit with that kick.
Right.
So it's odd the way the psychology works, but it's real. It's a real thing.
It is, because there's only a few guys that I've seen that like they'll come out there and it'll be a totally different. Like going with Usman, the second time he fought Colby, after the way Colby lost, Colby looked really good, and honestly, I can understand why you'd give it to Usman, but I looked at it as like you could have gave a split. It was razor thin again. Like there's been a couple guys who will come in and like flip it around, but it is very interesting, because I mean, you can look at it like you said at all levels. Most of the time with rematches and stuff, like Cejudo beat not TJ Cejudo beat DJ the second time they fought, and that was a razor thin one too. Like you could have gave it to DJ. But then you got instances like Liddell fighting Tito 3 times and just decimating him. It's like, and Tito rolling up. So yeah, no, it does play a huge factor, especially when the guy gets knocked out. It's totally that's the mental part of it. But I do like something that Corey Sandhagen said after he fought Cheeto. And he said Cheeto had the wrong mindset all week, because all he talked about was, I'm mentally stronger. I'm the mentally stronger fighter. I want this more. I want this more than him. I've done more. I've been like that. That was pretty much what he was saying. And Corey, it's really interesting to listen to this guy talk, because it's like he's just so stone cold and to the point. He was like, well, you know what? At this level, we all want it just as bad. We've all sacrificed this much, and we're all mentally strong to be here. And he's like, it's at the end of the day, once you get those out of the way, it's going to come down to skill and who's better. And he's like, and it showed that I was better. And it's like, wow, that is interesting. Like, if you can be mentally strong and you got the, I think that's why John is probably John and DJ are probably some of the most best fighters, because look at what happened when DJ got knocked out in ONE FC, and he came back and knocked that dude out with that marching knee. Like, that was crazy. And then look at John. I mean, John, that guy knows he's skilled, and he's mentally strong. He sits there and he was telling everyone, I know Cyril Gane's a bad matchup for me. Like, I'm a nightmare for him. He goes out there and he shows why he was a nightmare for him. And it's like, when you get that, I think that's what makes the perfect fighter. You just got someone so skilled, can overcome whatever in a fight, and just be mentally tough. Like, I think that's why Cejudo too is another, like Cejudo, the Marlon Moraes fight, and Marlon's a guy who fell apart after this fight. Cejudo's getting beat up in that first round. And I sat there thinking, like, damn, Henry's gonna lose. Mm-hmm. And I've never seen an adjustment like that in a fight more than anything. Like, Cejudo just jabbed his way inside and wrapped him up and started taking him out and just started eating him up in the clinch. And it was like,
Henry's such a smart fighter. I mean, he's so fucking calculated. Have
you listened to him break down fights?
Huh?
Have you listened to him break down fights?
Oh, it's fantastic. The only problem I have with it is it's too short and he doesn't do it enough. I could listen to that shit for forever. I mean, if you were to make it an hour show, I would sit there for an hour and watch it. It's usually for the internet. It's 30 seconds. And
yep.
Like, fuck, you gotta do more.
But no, I totally agree with that, man. He's just, I could listen to him like break down a main event for 30 minutes every UFC fight card, and it'd be like, wow,
yeah,
that's super analytic. That's very good feedback. Like, it's very good. Like, I think John going to train with him, even though, because Jones went and trained at Henry's camp for this fight, and even though Henry, he's like, Henry's probably like 155, 60 out of camp. Like, dude, John's a heavyweight, but that's not what John was going to train for. John was going to train with him because this dude is just so smart. Having a coach that analytic and can break down things for you and just make you look at things through different perspectives too is huge.
He and Mighty Mouse are close friends and train together, and you couldn't find two more different fighters in terms of how they fight. Mighty Mouse is out there trying to try new shit. He's like, let me try this. This is crazy. Let's try this crazy shit. Let's just jump up and try an armbar off of off of an absolute leap and see if that works.
It's funny how that happens. Like those guys were like so like not sworn enemies, but those guys were
yeah,
like
opponents.
Yeah, they were it's crazy. Like what I mean, like I'll use me for example. Like me and Marquez, we've trained together since we've fought, and
Yeah.
you know we've sparred and we've had sessions and stuff, and it's like, hey, you know, like we're both really good. Let's fucking build off of it. You know, like there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with putting the ego aside with someone you fought before and being like, hey, let's work together. We can build something off of each other.
It's one of the unique things about UFC and MMA that other sports don't have. And I think part of that's because, you know, if you're a higher level jujitsu person or whatever you're working on, kickboxing, you can go hard with somebody else and on the ground and help them get better, you know, and while you're doing it, you're picking up or you're honing your skills as well. So you can have two people improving. It doesn't become, even if you're competitive, it doesn't become like, I'm going to fucking shit on you and make sure you never succeed. You need people to get better so that you can continue to get better. So the mentality of the MMA community is really works in a lot of different business settings and a lot of different areas that normally are very selfish. You know, when you bring that mentality of, you know, everybody can work together to get better into anything, it becomes very healthy. It becomes like a nurturing mentality, the office environment for any art, for anything that you're doing. And fuck, more people should be like that. I mean, it really is something every kid should get involved in because you learn, you know, it's not a team sport, but it is. It becomes like a collective way for everybody to work to help each other. And you see it on fight day. The team comes out and supports each other 100%. And if somebody loses, everybody's hurt. And if somebody wins, everybody's fucking thrilled. Like it's like the happiest moment in the world. Everybody's like a parent that's on that team. It's really cool to watch, actually.
It is. It really is.
What do you think about Jones and Stipe? I think Stipe doesn't stand a fucking chance in that fight. Am I crazy for thinking that Jones is going to do the same thing to Stipe he did to Gane?
No, I don't think you're crazy. I think this fight's easier for him, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Just because let's say Gane was able to like stop some takedowns, I feel like John would have had a harder time on the feet than with Stipe.
Yeah.
I think John has an easier time on the feet, and I just don't think Stipe is going to be able to handle if John wraps him up. Especially if they're in close. I can see John having that Muay Thai clinch on him, firing some knees, just pushing him back and spinning back elbow. And I mean, I can see him getting real fancy with it. I just he's never been. You know what? I take that back. He's been a guy to like get you hurt and then he floors you. But I could really see him being this fight might be easier for him. I like Stipe too, but I think John is just too calculated to let Stipe get his boxing going. Too and just too good. Just too good. I mean, it really showed because I mean, look at the fight that Ngannou and Gane had, and it was a war. And then I mean, I know MMA math doesn't go together, but to be honest, I think the only problem I would see for John is if he would ever fight Ngannou, just because I feel like Ngannou would be able to just like literally peel him off if he tried to take him down. But then again, like when Stipe beat Francis the first fight, Stipe just swarmed him for a little bit, you know, and just wrestled with him. And even though he wasn't getting takedowns, he was just on him and on him and on him. And Ngannou just gassed. And I could see John beating him that way, you know. I don't think John has an issue. Maybe Sergey, but that Sergey's a juggernaut, but I haven't really seen what happens if the storm gets weathered. You know what happens if he can't like get the guy hurt? Because I mean, once that guy hurts someone, like we've seen it, he just melts him. Like it doesn't matter if you're covering up, he's hitting you so hard. But I do think John just wins his next 4 or 5 and then can retire, and it's just non-negotiable who the GOAT is.
The problem with the whole heavyweight division is that his wrestling's at a whole different level than everybody in that division. So if he comes across somebody who he thinks he can outstrike and things start going south, he can just win every single fight against every single opponent by a simple takedown and then just destroying him on the ground. There's nobody who can touch him. And because he's so fast and because he's so athletic, he can win most of those battles with the striking. But again, if things go south even a little bit, he's just going to beat you. Every single person in that division is going to be his bitch on the ground. And Francis's wrestling got a lot better. He's a freak, but no, you can't really start wrestling when you're 30 years old or you're 24 years old with a guy who's already been, college All-American at that point because he's been wrestling, since he was a kid. If anybody could make up for that time, it'd be somebody with Francis's athletic ability, but I'm just here to say it's really not possible. You see Cyril Gane trying to learn to wrestle now. I'm like, good, you're trying, but it's too late.
It's a good division for Gane because, like you said, it's too late. Like Gane's gonna have to. Gane at this point in his career should just be training to keep the fight standing. His striking, he can definitely beat 99% of the division, but he should just work on
sprawl. Yeah. Work that sprawl for the rest of your days, man. And then if you do get down, get your ass back to the cage and get up somehow. But you're spot on. At this point, there's no point in trying to. And that's what, again, where Pereira's in deep shit too. He's never going to be a wrestler. If he goes against even the new guy, Bo Nichols, he's in deep shit.
Yeah.
Because Bo gets him on the ground, it's fucking over. There's nothing he's going to be able to do against an All-American wrestler. And there's a bunch of killers like that. Gilbert Burns in that division would be an issue. There's just killer after killer in that division. Wait, is Gilbert's not 185, is he? 170. I mean, yeah, but Gilbert fights next weekend.
Fighting Jorge.
Yeah, I think he's gonna Gilbert's a bad motherfucker. I mean,
I think he's gonna melt him.
Gilbert will melt a lot of people. Gilbert's a bad motherfucker. His performance against Chimov was amazing. When he fought the Wolf, that was nobody gave him a shot, and you can make a case that he won that fight. It didn't go his way as far as the judging, but he put in a hell of a performance there and showed the world that that there is a way to beat the Wolf. So we have, what else we have? Hollins on that card. Izzy is a favorite in the rematch, which is surprising. He's a favorite.
Very surprising.
Not a big one, but he's a favorite. So it's going to be fun. So that's next weekend. I hate that we don't have fights this weekend. I really am not happy about it.
I didn't realize until I texted you. I was like, hey, there's actually not fights this Saturday. I thought there'd be a fight night or something. I mean, there's CFFC going on.
I'll watch it. It.
It's on Fight Pass. Charlie Radke's, he's fought in Tampa a couple of times. He's fighting for the 170 title. So that he's got a very tough opponent, but he's a Florida native, Naples dude. Chuck Buffalo. I would like to see a Florida guy get the belt for CFFC tonight.
That Mastival Burns fight. Jorge's a fucking animal. I mean, even to jump in on that fight, I think he thinks it's a good fight for him if it stays on the feet. But Mastival doesn't like. There's a great video of him where he's grappling with this hot chick, and somebody, and the camera's on there, and one of his friends stands over here and goes, "This fucking guy never hits the ground on any of his fights. all of a sudden he's Royce Gracie today. Out of the blue. He's back there with this hot girl working on his moves on the ground. He just likes to get in there and just fucking bang, throw heat and see. But it's a big fight for Jorge. He hasn't had a win in a while, and he's still on the radar for a championship chance. If he can, if Colby can win, which is there's a very good chance that Colby gets that title shot. That's a done deal. If Colby can win and he beats Burns, he might get his rematch. He might get the rematch with Colby for the belt, which would be interesting.
I think I think Colby chooses. I think Colby chooses him apart to fight again. This is the perfect world of the welterweight division. I think you throw Colby and Edwards, George and Burns, which is already happening, and then you gotta stick Bilal somewhere. Who else is on a win streak in welterweight?
Yeah, Bilal. Everybody underestimates him, and yet he goes out there, and I think he must be extremely strong because he doesn't look like it, but every time he gets a hold of people, he seems to just control everybody. Yeah, he just controls everybody. Every time you're like, yeah, I don't think Bilal's going to do much. All of a sudden, Bilal's got his hand up, and you're like, oh shit, Bilal again. Look at him. I mean, he looks like he's got some strength that doesn't show. It's like a farmer strength.
I think what you do with Bilal is it's tough because someone's going to have to wait. I don't see how you can give the winner of George and Burns a belt shot right away. But then you can say, how could they give Colby a title shot right away? Well, Colby hasn't really lost anyone other than Usman, and that there explains itself. And Colby fought all the guy Woodley, Robbie, RDA, all these guys who were like on the top. I don't think people realize. You look at people when you think of Woodley now, you think of he was trash going out of the UFC. Woodley was still like he was coming off the hill. Robbie was still a monster when he fought him. Rafael dos Anjos is still to this day an animal. Colby's got some really good wins.
Yeah, he does.
And I can see why he got the title shot over Bilal. I can name two guys that Bilal has beat: Vicente Luque and Sean Brady.
Yeah, the Sean Brady was his big win.
Brady was impressive.
Yeah, it was. He was not expected to win that fight.
No, I thought he was gonna tag up Bilal. I thought he was gonna stuff the takedown, but man, Bilal just nonstop in his face.
It wasn't even really close. Bilal, there was not a single person that went, Bilal robbed that. No, Bilal won that fight for real.
Yeah. So
I knew Colby was getting that fight when he was the backup.
Yeah.
When he made weight as the backup. And because Dana knows that it sucks to make weight for a fight. And if you're gonna make weight and you're gonna be the backup for a main event, he rewards that. Because you're just sitting there on your ass, but you had to cut, you had to do everything right. So Dana's rewarding him for his performance, and he's also rewarding him, for the wins, but he's really rewarding him too for agreeing to be a backup for a main event, and cutting that weight and getting in shape. And I think he just said, if you do this, you get the next title shot, because it didn't matter how much Leon was complaining about it. Dana was like, fuck that, you're fighting Colby.
I think Colby is a good champion, because this is what think about this, Eric. You got Connor and Michael Chandler. This was something I was going to touch on. You got Connor and Michael Chandler coaching Ultimate Fighter, fighting at 170, and I like Michael Chandler, but Connor is a nightmare matchup for Chandler, because Connor's just going to sit unless he lets Chandler get inside, take him down. But the way Chandler's been fighting is go for broke. We're just going to stand, crack, and whoever spills first blood's lose. And that kind of fighter against Connor is just Connor all day. Like, and I'm not even the biggest Connor. I'm a huge Chandler fan, but man, Connor's just really, really good with his timing, his angles, and I could see him putting Chandler if Chandler fights how he fought Dustin and
Like
how
how
he
he's been fighting everybody. And
how
the
he,
thing is, he can wrestle. He's really fucking good at it. He just fights like a whirlwind.
yeah.
I see the same way you do. That is a bad matchup for Chandler unless Chandler decides, you know what, I'm going to win the
Chandler. If he goes back to Bellator Chandler,
correct. He's gonna destroy Connor. But people need to understand that Connor's so good at timing and counter striking that he timed and knew what Jose Aldo was gonna do immediately. He studies, he's smart, and he fucking works on that one thing. And with Aldo, it didn't take any time at all to show that left and put Aldo out. And Chandler's not as smart as Jose Aldo. He's a fucking wild animal. So
it's just chaos. There's no other way to say it when he fights. It's just fucking chaotic, like the whole time.
Great. It's going to be a great fucking fight. Talk about a perfect welcome back Connor.
Yeah, I'm going at. I could see the UFC if Connor wins that fight. I am dead certain Colby will beat Edwards. I am dead certain Colby will beat Edwards because I think
so too.
I think how even if he's not taking him down, Usman's been very vocal. It's getting hard for him to even train anymore because of his knees and his back. And I could see how in the fight, yeah, he's falling apart.
Yeah.
Colby, I could see Colby just wearing Leon out and gassing him out and just drowning him for 25 minutes. Now, I guarantee the UFC's done it before for Conor plenty of times. Conor beats Chandler. I am 100%. I wish I could go bet $100 somewhere. Conor versus Colby will happen. Will be announced within the next year. Because if Conor beats Chandler, they're gonna make that the fight right away. Like, forget everyone else. Think Bilal's mad. Now everyone's gonna be mad.
And again, that's a fun fight. Colby is more entertaining in a lot of ways outside the ring than in the ring. But he's two great superpowers. His cardio is a superpower. His activity level, he melts people, and his wrestling is his superpower. He's like
400 strikes against Robbie Lawler. 400 strikes.
Throws a volume. There's no real KO threat with him, but he's high activity, high fun, high cardio. Obviously he'd want to take Conor to the ground, but while it's on its feet, you're talking about somebody who throws a lot of, when he was with Masvidal, he still threw a ton of strikes against, a very, very hard hitting opponent that wanted to take his head off. He didn't just take him to the ground and dry hump him. He fought him for real. And then he, had his moments where he was destroying him on the ground too. But yeah, that's another great fight to look forward to. I mean, you're talking about first you have Conor having to get through, a very tough fight.
Yeah.
But if he does, it sets the stage. That's the beauty about this sport too, is you never have to worry. Like we're talking about earlier, the best fights are going to get made, and we aren't going to have to go. It's not going to be like Spence Crawford, where we're talking about a hypothetical fight that will never ever happen. As long as that fighter signed with the UFC, the fight will get made if the fans want it, and it's beautiful.
The promos for that fight are just gonna be out of freaking control. The amount of trash talk, there'll be something new every day. It's hilarious.
I can't wait to hear Conor back on the. I'm recording the new season. I haven't watched any yet, but I hear it's going to be good. There's a lot of drama with Conor as the coach, which of course you'd expect. But I cannot wait till he gets back into fight prep week and starts talking shit again, because he is phenomenal on the microphone talking shit. He's one of the best ever. So that's good stuff. And as it gets going and as it gets heated, who the fuck are you? He sounds like a friggin' leprechaun the whole time. It's fantastic.
I can already hear him taking shots at like Poirier and Makachev and all those guys too. You already know it's going to be coming.
Oh, the shrapnel hits everybody.
Yep.
It's not just his opponent. It's all potential opponents in the division. You know, they all get shrapnel along the way, which is pretty awesome.
Have you seen when he posts on Twitter? He'll post voice memos on Twitter, and they're just like I think they're. At first, I thought I was like, this can't be real. Like this has to. I was like, no, this is Conor McGregor. He'll like post shit of him like talking shit. Like he'll be all he'll be calling Dustin like a little rat. He'll be like, Dustin, and he's just talking shit. And they're fucking comedy. I mean, I'm so glad that Twitter has this feature where he can do that because it's hilarious. I mean,
Well, that's
you can listen to some of them sometimes, like Connor Twitter voice clips. They're fucking hilarious.
I'm gonna find him. I'm gonna find the one thing about him and Colby. You know, Colby's kind of made this persona up. You know, he sort of did this because he knew it was a smart business thing. The UFC was going to cut him, so he's like, "Let me be more interesting, more outrageous." With Conor, that's who he is, and no more evidence to that than when his leg broke in half. He's sitting on the side of the cage with a leg that's broken in half, should be in total shock, and is still saying, "Your wife's up in me DMs talking shit."
Yeah, like there's no shutting him up. I mean, even after Habib almost snapped his jaw,
Yeah,
and he's getting punched by dudes from Habib's corner,
mm-hmm.
he's still talking shit to this day about those guys, those Dagestani rats.
Those rats.
Like, oh my God, you're never gonna shut them up.
Dude, those Dagestanis are they're like the direct descendants of Attila the Hun, the Mongols. You know, those guys are, you can see the little bit of Asian in them, just a little bit. Those guys are just nasty warriors, man. They're mean. Yeah. You don't want to fuck with their mafia either. They're ruthless. You know, they're in little pockets, but you got to be careful when you talk shit about those people, because they take it seriously. Anything? How's what's going on with you personally? Any news in the fight game that you want to share before?
I've been taking a little time off as of late. To be honest, I probably shouldn't have taken my last fight. My performance was not good. I hadn't trained a month. I didn't train all of December. As you know, I'm a 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. worker.
Yeah.
And it's like during Christmas time at FedEx, it was that 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. So there was no time to train. I come back for a week of training and I get staph infection. So I'm out pretty much the rest of January. And then I come back, I practice like 3 or 4 practices. And my coach is like, hey, you look good. You want to take a fight? And I mean, you know, like every night, 3, 4 matchups and just no. So I didn't think I was going to fight. And then a week out, I end up getting one of the dudes like number 2 in the country. And it's like, yeah, let's fight this guy. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's like, I'm never going to say no, but at this point I've learned I should have probably said no. I had to cut 25 pounds to make weight. I was walking around $188 or so.
Yeah.
It was, like I said, a week notice. Of course I was training, but I essentially only had a week of training because the next week was just mainly the weight management, trying to get my cut ready to go. And I mean, I made the weight easy. I don't think the weight cut was a problem, but I just think that I just did not have adequate time to even get ready. I'm not gonna say I wasn't in shape because I feel like I didn't gas out there, but I just mentally was not. This is gonna sound stupid. Mentally was not in the mood to fight. I mean, when I walked out, I like took my shirt off and ran to the cage. I never fucking do that just because I was trying to like get myself excited. I mean, it was like I was getting the rush, but after the first round, my coach asked me, he's like, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. I'm just trying to get out of here. And it was, by get out of here, it was like, I'm just trying to go out there and fucking, I was horrid. I mean, I was just fucking loading up a right hand every second and then shooting ugly takedowns. every couple of seconds, just try to get a takedown or something. I was just trying to get out of there because it was like I just didn't want to fight, and I feel like a lot of it's come down to
Sure did fight a lot for a guy who didn't want to fucking fight, because it was a fucking war, and you were like Glover in that fight.
yeah.
You just kept coming. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that guy was like, "What the fuck do I have to do to get this guy out of here?" Yeah, it wasn't strategically, it wasn't your best, but from a pure fan standpoint, I guarantee you got a ton of fucking fans that night.
I heard people telling me good fight, but I knew. I was like, thanks. I fought horrible though. I mean, it didn't help that. So my nose that was the 5th time my nose has been broken. My
Yeah.
nose has been broken like 4 fucking times. So it doesn't take a lot. And I forgot if it was in the first or in the second, but the second he hit it, it was like
You knew. If you
I,
felt
I blew it out a little bit. I was like, yeah. I was like, here we go. I was like, this is gonna be a long one. And right when I sat on the stool, my coach covered it real quick, and I'm telling you, Eric, like just snapped it back because it was out of place. It was right on the end of it. Like I've had it broken up here, and that's even worse to deal with. But I just did not execute it. It wasn't good. I didn't have enough time to get myself ready for a fight of that caliber. It was foolish of me to take a fight that soon at that much of a weight cut. Because like in my mind, I was trying to get everything lined up. So money's been a little tight on my end, so I'm trying to work a lot right now to just save up. So because training's expensive, I'm gonna be straight up with you, and
Yeah,
I'll share with you. I pay 120 to my head coach for training day. I pay $40 for my main wrestling coach. I pay drop-ins for jujitsu. If I go to jujitsu 4 times a week, it's 15, so that's $60. So we're right now at 220. And then I go wrestle in Pinellas Park on Sundays with Connor Beebe, and that's $20 per drop-in. That's an extra $100. So it's like 320 a month for training. And I just started looking at it. It's like, fuck, dude. Like I'm like running myself dry on training, especially like the gas fucking to get out to training. And it was just starting to make shit a little bit tighter. And then like the last minute fight is like, oh, your blood work isn't up to date. Go get your blood work. Go get this. Go get that. It's like, fuck. Like, so it's like I'm trying to manage, and I know everyone's got shit they gotta like get in line and stuff, but it's like, trust me, I fucking hate getting up at 6 a.m. and working till 3, 4 o'clock every day. I fucking hate it. You know, if I didn't have to do it, I wouldn't, but I'm not in a position to do it, you know. Um, and there's just some days where it's just very hard to go train, and especially when I'm dieting, and I just feel like I was regressing because I feel like I'm fucking getting like 6 hours of sleep after my practices. It's 10 o'clock. I get home, shower, and eat. It's 11:30 when I go to bed. Oh, gotta wake up at 5:30 the next morning and do this 7 days a week, 5 hours of sleep every week. Then on top of that, try to get my fucking strength and conditioning in, try to get my training sessions in. And it's just, I feel like all of that was detrimenting me as a martial artist, not even as a fighter, a martial artist. I don't think I've gotten better since I fought it last July. I feel like I've regressed. And I feel like I've regressed just because like I was taking too much on my plate, trying to do too many things at once. And here's another reason I probably shouldn't have fought. Like training just hadn't been fun to me. Training had not been fun to me because I was supposed to fight around Christmas time, right? And man, that fight. I wanted to fight. I was dialed in. The guy pulled out the Tuesday before, and we couldn't find a replacement.
Yep.
And after, even before that, training started, it started to feel like more like a chore. And I mean, I've been training. I started late when I was 22, and since I'm 29 now. For 7 fucking years, I've never taken more than 3 weeks off.
Yeah.
Never. The only time I took time off is when my nose got broken initially after a fight, and I took a couple weeks to let it heal, and then I was right back at it. And that even when my ACL tore, I was still training. I was fucking in the gym 2 days later, just working around it. I've never taken a lot of time off, and I feel like I just started burning out really bad. And like I said, just shit was not fun for me. It hadn't been fun for a minute, and now I'm starting to
Miss
get a
it.
little hungry, miss it and get a little hungry again. I'm starting to like, I'll be just driving around at work and like I'll start thinking about it and I'll just get like start gripping the wheel and fucking getting real like angsted up, and it's like I start feeling that rush again. It's like fuck. And this Thursday, I actually it's real funny because Thursday I was actually um I got off work late, and that's when I texted you, and then I was like, all right, if I'm not going to podcast, I'm just going to go to the gym. And oh no, wait, Friday, my day's fucked up. Yesterday, I seen someone looking at me from across the gym. Like I'm not like paying attention, but like I felt someone looking my way.
Yeah.
And it's eventually like someone approached me during my workout, and it's a guy I was training jiu-jitsu under when I first moved out here, but he's all the way in South Tampa. So I live up in Temple Terrace, like up towards New Tampa, Wesley Chapel. And it's like,
Yep.
like it's a bitch to get down there, especially around 6 o'clock. It's like going south on 275 is never good.
Disaster. Yeah, it's a disaster.
So it's like I stopped training there, but I really like training.
Over by Bears Road with the extra S's.
Yep, that's around where I live. I'm right around the Fletcher Fowler Bears area.
I love
And
that.
It's like he asked me how I was doing. I said I was doing good, and he offered like, hey man, if you ever want to come back and train, we're opening our second location in Ybor. He's like, come train with us. He's like, and hey dude, like I really liked you. You're a cool dude. If you were interested in teaching, he's like, maybe we could work something out like that. And I was like, dude, to be honest, like that was kind of like my initial. That's been my goal. Like the fighting thing for now is just like build myself up, make a name for myself. But at the end of the day, I just want to teach people. That was when I had the most fun with this sport, when I was teaching. I mean, I've told you I used to coach in Plattsburgh, New York, and I had like I think max was like 25 students, and I mean we'd go compete, we'd do tons of stuff. It was just awesome. I had so much fun. I had so much fun going, and I think I've told you about this. One of my students, Andrew Renfro, he was competing against one of Glover Teixeira's guys. So it's Glover Teixeira on one side of me, and we're both cornering our fucking dudes in a jiu-jitsu match. And it's like I've even competed against one of Glover's black belts. It's fucking awesome, dude. It's like I loved it. Like that was where I had so much fun. And watching them get the medals and win using techniques that I've showed them, that was what was fun to me. That was when I was having a lot of fun, because it was like, and then being able to go out there and show them everything I teach them, how I use it in tournament. And they're like, dude, it's so fucking cool to like actually watch you apply what you teach us. And it's like,
I gotta say too, on the teaching side, you'll also probably find your technique improves faster as a teacher than it does as a student, because it forces you to hone in on each element of the technique at a different level. Everybody I know who instructs sees a big jump in their they see a jump in their ability, and it's counterintuitive because you're dealing with people at all different levels, but it does make sense because it really does make you think about things on a more technical level and just get the actual technique right, instead of necessarily just rolling around. And I don't know, there's something about honing in there that just makes people better. So it could not only inspire you but also be good for your growth as a mixed martial artist.
You're totally right on that, because like you said, I would get so detailed. I would teach probably one main point. Like let's say it was like a submission attempt. I would teach the setup for this, and then I would teach different variations for different situations, like 2 extra things. I wouldn't go too crazy because I never like to getting overloaded with like, all right, we're gonna teach all this shit. And it's like, all right, I'm probably going to hang on to like one of those techniques fucking totem. And I would break it down and be like, okay, this is the setup. I would take a good like 5 minutes explaining the initial technique, and I'd let everyone drill it for 10 minutes. And then I'd break off to the other 2 parts. And I would just get so in detail about explaining it to where like when everyone starts drilling it, they got it down. They're like, can you just show it to me one more time? I want to just see how you do this. And it's like it was great. Like I've had so many people tell me, a lot of people tell me that they would love to like learn from me again, just because they felt like that they were learning a lot. And a lot of the people that I did teach still train to this day, and they say it's because of me. And it's like that feels good to me. That feels great, and I just love that feeling. That's what made me really fall in love with the sport to begin with. So,
That's
but I think
perfect.
it's good. I'll
Gotta do it. You have to do it. You have to. I mean,
yeah.
you'd be amazing at it. And I've
Thank
got one of your students that his mount is already fantastic. I fight him off, and he finds his way on with a nasty mount. He's already got some of the basics. He's been watching a lot, but yeah, we where's that gym? Where's the gym that you're looking to teach in?
it's in Ybor. I'm gonna reach out to him on a Monday, get the location and figure out the place. It's a temporary location while they set up the rest of it. So I'm gonna figure out more details, but I'm gonna get back. Basically, I'm gonna get back to training this Tuesday. Which is good. It's what I needed. Like I said, I'm feeling hungry again.
Tell him
And
the place with windows, so
yeah,
so that the sun can kill that staph infection.
yeah,
If
sure.
all the windowless places become staph hells, get some fucking windows in there, and your staph problem is naturally taken care of.
You're right. And honestly, Eric. That was the first time I had any type of skinned. Take that back. I had folliculitis like the first year I was training. But man, that sucked. And it was like I said, I took like a week and a half off, and then 10 days for the antibiotic. It was just like it was whatever. I didn't feel like shit because of it, but my skin just didn't look good in the spots. It looked pretty bad.
Yeah, it
Um,
looks yeah, the staff's no joke though. If you don't get it treated, it's terminal.
getting your bloodstream. That's what started freaking me out when I was showing it to people. They were like,
Get
"Yeah, dude, you need to
out
go fucking get that
now.
looked at away."
Right away. Yeah, right away. It's a killer. It's no joke at all. And I'm glad that you caught it quick, because it's easy to miss. It's real
Yeah,
easy to miss. If you're training in MMA, you have to watch. They have the soap and this other stuff that's supposed to help that too, that you put on before you go in, and then
right.
after you get out, it's specifically for that. But again, that's just another cost, right?
Right. And
Um,
I'm always usually super good about, to be honest, what we got it from is because one of my other teammates got it, and this is what it came from. Um, like I said, I hadn't trained for a little while, and we were storing the two of our wrestling mats in the back of my truck. And the last time we had washed them and cleaned them, they didn't get air out properly. This is what we're assuming. And so when I came back, it was just like 3 weeks of those like sitting there, and then we wiped them down, and we just fucking got right down on them, and two of us fucking ended up getting it. So,
yep. That's
but
the joy. You got to let that sun beat on it for a full day in Florida to kill that shit. But I'm
yeah,
excited. I think that's great for you. And congratulations on taking the break. Congratulations on a great fight. Even though you weren't happy with your performance, there's not a single person in the world that could watch that and not want to see you fight again. It was
thank
a performance of all heart, blood, guts, and glory, and it really was a sight to behold. I was like, holy shit! The announcers were losing their shit. They were like nothing but heaping praise on you, even though it didn't go your way at all. The way for you to win that fight would have been to fight so boring. Like the way to win that fight would have literally been press him against the cage, not let him move, give him little knees, hit him with little, like stay active, but literally keep the fight super boring,
yeah,
because he is, a very, very talented fighter. And, with those types of things, you got to do what you can do just to negate it. So if you had won in a boring way versus what happened in an exciting way at this level, at the amateur level, take the exciting way all day. The professional level, go fight like the most boring fight ever and get that win if you have to. But I thought it was fucking amazing, and I think your stock rose dramatically. But I think taking some time off is smart. Get that hunger back, figure out what you want, get training, get coaching, make money, and see where it takes you, man. I mean, there's no set path here. Just do what your heart wants, and everything will work out from there.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, brother. Well, the Joshua fight's in round 4 right now. Apparently, Joshua's got a broken nose. This should look familiar. So let's reconvene. We've got some fights next week. Let's try to do this again before the fights.
Yes, sir.
And send my love to your lovely girlfriend. Tell her happy birthday again. I know it was yesterday, but
yeah, I let her know yesterday. She's like, "Oh, tell Eric I said thank you." And I was like, "All
awesome.
right."
She's a sweetheart. So you guys have a great day, and thanks for the time. And let's reconnect soon.
Of course, man. I'll be talking to you soon. I'll see you later, Eric.
Love you, brother. All right, bye.
Brother.